Welcome to this in-depth exploration of World War I. Across time, we have come to understand the impact of historical events, not just in their immediate aftermath, but in the lasting ripples they send through the fabric of our society. It is through this lens that we aim to unveil the roots of the animosity that has defined the interactions between different countries. This journey will take us deep into the political landscape of the early 20th century, where alliances were as fragile as glass, and the balance of power was constantly shifting. We find ourselves in a world where the Triple Entente was squaring off against the Central Powers, a scenario ripe for escalation. As we delve into the intricate web of these alliances, we will uncover how national interests and the quest for dominance set the stage for the outbreak of what would become one of the most devastating conflicts in human history. We will trace the path from the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, a spark that ignited the war, to the bitter end, and reflect on the lessons we can glean from the ashes. So, buckle up as we journey back to a time of simmering tensions and delicate balances on the precipice of a catastrophe that would forever change the world. Have you ever wondered how a single event could change the course of history? In the early 20th century, the political climate in Europe was a simmering pot of national interests and intricate alliances. The rise of nationalism was causing tension, with smaller nations demanding independence from the empires that ruled them. Industrialization was fueling an arms race among the major powers, escalating the potential for conflict. Amid this political turmoil, secret treaties and alliances developed, creating a complex web of obligations and expectations. The world watched in wary anticipation, unknowing of spark that would ignite the flame of the Great War. The year was 1914 when Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, to the Austro-Hungarian throne, was assassinated. He was not just a figurehead, his death sent shockwaves through the political landscape. The Archduke was a beacon of stability in an increasingly volatile Europe. He was a linchpin keeping the fragile peace intact. The assassination, fired by a young Serbian nationalist, was the catalyst. It shattered the delicate balance of power in Europe, setting in motion a series of events that would lead to the outbreak of World War I. With a single gunshot, the world was set on a path to war. Picture a cascading chain reaction, where instead of dominoes toppling, we're dealing with declarations of war. It was a sequence of events that led one country after another into a vortex of conflict. The fuse was lit with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria by a Serbian nationalist. Austria-Hungary, in a state of outrage and grief, declared war on Serbia. But this is the point where the story takes an unexpected turn. Serbia had a powerful ally in Russia. Known for its formidable presence on the international stage, Russia wasted no time in declaring war on Austria-Hungary in a show of solidarity with Serbia. But the chain of declarations didn't cease there. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, perceived Russia's mobilization as a direct threat. Consequently, Germany declared war on Russia. Thereafter, France, bound by its alliance with Russia, felt compelled to declare war on Germany. Germany, foreseeing this, decided to launch a preemptive strike on France, choosing to march through Belgium. The violation of Belgium's neutrality, however, was a step too far for Britain, leading it to declare war on Germany. In just a matter of weeks, the assassination had spiraled out of control into a full-blown global conflict. The dispute had grown far beyond the initial quarrel between Austria-Hungary and Serbia. The world was in the grips of a war. Countries across the globe were being pulled into the conflict not due to their own issues or disputes, but because they were ensnared in a complex and intricate web of alliances and obligations. Even initially, neutral nations such as Japan and Italy were unwillingly drawn into the war, thereby expanding the scale of the conflict. The Ottoman Empire, taking sides with the Central Powers of Germany and Austria-Hungary, opened up new battlefronts in the Middle East and Africa. Onlookers the world were stunned by the rapid succession of falling dominoes, each declaration of war leading to another, culminating in an unforeseen global conflict. The sequence of events had spiraled wildly out of control, driven by a toxic mix of national pride, fear, and a labyrinthine network of alliances that inextricably linked nations in a lethal dance of war. And thus, the world was thrust into a chaos that would persist for 4 arduous years. This marked the commencement of World War I, a war that would alter the world map and revolutionize the nature of warfare. Imagine being trapped in a trench with mud encasing your boots and an unseen enemy lurking just beyond your line of sight. This was not a hypothetical for the soldiers of World War I, but a grim day-to-day existence. The vast network of trenches, a veritable maze of earthen fortifications, cut across the Western Front, stretching from the icy waters of the English Channel all the way to the Swiss border. These trenches, carved deep into the unforgiving earth, became the soldiers' makeshift homes and their unyielding battlegrounds. Life in these trenches was far from the comforts of home. The sparse, cramped quarters were shared uncomfortably with legions of rats that thrived on the discarded food and detritus of war. Hygiene was a luxury, and the conditions were abhorrently unsanitary, with the threat of disease lurking in the dank, damp corners. Trenchfoot, a debilitating condition resulting from extended exposure to wet and cold, was a common affliction among the troops. The ceaseless rumble of artillery fire, the stench of death heavy in the air, and the ever-present fear of an imminent attack made sleep an elusive dream. The trenches served as more than a physical barrier, they were a psychological battlefield. Soldiers had to wrestle with the terror of unseen danger, the uncertainty of when the next wave of violence would crash over them, and the gut-wrenching fear of not surviving the ordeal. This constant pressure could crack even the most resilient of spirits. But within this bleak reality, there were sparks of humanity that provided glimmers of hope. Soldiers would sing songs to lift their spirits, share tales from home to distract from the harsh reality, and even manage to play football during a rare pause in conflict on Christmas Day in 1914. They formed bonds of brotherhood that often transcended national linguistic divides. These trenches, grim and daunting as they were, played an integral role in the grand strategy of the war. They offered some semblance of protection against the relentless enemy firepower and served as a strategic platform for launching attacks. However, they also epitomized the deadlock of the war, with neither side able to tilt the scale decisively in their favor. The trenches stand as a stark testimony to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming adversity, but they also expose the gruesome realities of war. They serve as silent witnesses to the heavy toll paid by those who fought in the name of their nations. In the mud and blood of the trenches, the gruesome reality of war was laid bare for all to see. Could you ever fathom a reality where technology could act as the harbinger of massive destruction? As we dive deeper into the First World War, we confront the harrowing truth of modern warfare, drastically altered by innovative and equally terrifying technologies. A significant advancement that stands out is the introduction of the machine gun. Prior to the war, battles were primarily fought with single-shot rifles and bayonets. The invention of the machine gun, however, brought about an unprecedented change. With a firing rate of up to 600 rounds per minute, these rapid-fire weapons transformed the battlefield into a death zone, mowing down soldiers in waves and rendering charges across no man's land an extremely dangerous task. Another technological marvel were the tanks, the steel leviathans that dominated the battlefields. Their design was aimed at breaking the deadlock of trench warfare. Encased in thick armor and equipped with formidable firepower, these war machines could traverse difficult terrain, withstand enemy fire, and break through enemy lines with ease. Tanks, in many ways, represented the industrial might and creative innovation brought by war. Yet, the technology that sowed the seeds of fear in every soldier's heart was chemical weapons. The deployment of poisonous gases introduced a horrifying new aspect to warfare. Deadly agents such as chlorine and mustard gas could silently creep into trenches, causing nightmarish injuries and death. The psychological impact of these invisible weapons was profound, inciting fear and panic among the troops. However, the war was not confined to the land. The advent of new technologies transformed the skies and into battlegrounds. Aircraft became pivotal for reconnaissance, bombing runs, and engaging in aerial combat. Submarines, on the other hand, lurked in the depths of the oceans, launching surprise assaults on enemy vessels. In addition, advances in artillery, with the development of long-range howitzers and mortars, gave armies the ability to bombard enemy positions from a safe distance. Developments in communication technology like field telephones and wireless radio allowed for better coordination between different units. These new technologies, while reflecting human innovation, brought about an unprecedented level of destruction and death. They altered the very nature of warfare, making it more impersonal and mechanized. War was no longer about the bravery of individual soldiers in close combat. It morphed into a grim game of attrition, where victory often hinged industrial output and technological superiority. In the face of new technologies, we witness the jarring power of modern warfare. As we continue our exploration of World War I, We'll see how these technologies radically shaped the course of the conflict and left a lasting impact on the world beyond. Can you picture a world emerging from the shadow of a global conflict? The year was 1918, and the world was teetering on the edge of a monumental shift. This shift was ushered in by the conclusion of the Great War, or World War I as it's known today. Nations were frail, populations had been obliterated, and landscapes bore the deep scars of war's brutalities. At the core of France, within the majestic confines of the Palace of Versailles, a gathering of world leaders took place. They were assembled to draft a document that would alter the course of history, the Treaty of Versailles. This treaty was so much more than a piece of paper. It held within its text the world's collective aspiration for peace. The Treaty of Versailles was not merely an endpoint to the war, but a meticulously designed blueprint for a new world order. It laid the blame for the war squarely on Germany's shoulders and enforced severe penalties, both financial and territorial. These penalties were of such magnitude that they transformed the global power structures. Germany was stripped of its colonies, and its territory was significantly reduced. The victorious Allied powers, Britain, France, and the United States gained more power, further tilting the global balance in their favor. However, this punitive approach would later be viewed by many as a catalyst for another global conflict, World War II. But at that moment, the Treaty of Versailles was a beacon of hope. It symbolized an end to 4 long, brutal years of war, a war that had claimed approximately 20 million lives and left almost twice as many wounded. The world was in dire need of healing, and the treaty promised just that. But the end of World War I delivered changes that went far beyond political boundaries and peace treaties. It altered the way wars were fought, how peace was sustained, and gave birth to new technologies. It brought about the rise of new ideologies and led to a seismic shift in global power structures. In the war's aftermath, nations grappled with their loss, their guilt, and their hope for a peaceful future. Women, having stepped into roles traditionally held by men during the war, began to equal rights. Empires crumbled, new nations were born, and the world map was reshaped. And so the world stepped out of the war's shadow, forever altered by what it had endured. The end of World War I marked not just the cessation of a conflict, but the dawn of a new era. An era that was shaped by lessons learned from the war, sacrifices made, and the enduring hope for a more peaceful world. What valuable insights can we extract from such a devastating clash? As we delve into the aftermath of World War I, we find ourselves reflecting on the profound lessons it etched in the annals of history. The war amplified the paramount importance of diplomacy over brute force, serving as a stark reminder that a single dialogue can often prevent catastrophic outcomes. It highlighted the dangers of unchecked nationalism, the kind that blinds us from recognizing our common human values, propelling us towards the path of devastating conflict. World War I provided a grim demonstration of the human cost of war, an agonizing toll that is more than just numbers. The millions of lives extinguished, entire cities razed to the ground, societies fragmented, and the psychological trauma inflicted on survivors are just some aspects of the far-reaching impacts of global conflict. This war also underscored the environmental devastation that accompanies warfare, with vast tracts of land transformed into barren wastelands. Its aftermath had a significant impact on the geopolitical landscape of the world, leading to the redrawing of boundaries and the establishment of new nations. It influenced the way future conflicts were waged, leading to a shift in warfare strategies and tactics. It also catalyzed the inception of international organizations aimed at maintaining peace and preventing global conflict. The echoes of the sacrifices made during World War I continue to reverberate in our collective consciousness, influencing actions and decisions, and persistently urging us to seek peaceful resolutions and avert the horrors of war. As we remember World War I, we are profoundly reminded of the cost of and the invaluable worth of peace. Let's strive to not only remember these lessons, but actively utilize them as we continue to shape our world for the betterment of future generations. Thank you for joining us on this in-depth exploration of World War I. It's not just about revisiting a period in history, but about understanding the intricate complexities that shaped this global conflict. These complexities, including socio-political issues, alliances, and warfare strategies, had far-reaching impacts that continue to influence world politics and relations today. We hope this journey has illuminated these aspects for you, offering a fresh perspective on the war. If you found this video enlightening and informative, We encourage you to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. Remember, knowledge grows when shared. If you feel this video could shed light on these intricacies for someone else, please do share. We are fervent about making history come alive, and we're thrilled to have you join us in this pursuit. Let's sustain our interaction with history, deepening our understanding, and learning from the valuable lessons it has to teach. Stay tuned for more videos that delve into the historical events that have shaped the world we inhabit today. Having delved deep into the events and intricate complexities of World War I, let's now turn our attention to the ripple effects this war had on the world. The end of the war did not mean the end of its influence. Far from it, the repercussions were felt across the globe and across generations. The aftermath of World War I marked the beginning of significant changes in political boundaries, social norms, and economic systems. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, ended the state of war between Germany and the Allied powers. However, the harsh terms of the treaty planted the seeds for the Second World War. The map of Europe was redrawn, leading to the creation of several new nations. The war also had a profound impact on society. It led to a loss of innocence and a questioning of values, giving rise to the lost generation. The role of women in society underwent a significant shift as they took up jobs left vacant by men who had gone to war. Economically, the war led to a boom in the United States, but left European economies devastated. These are but a few examples of the ripple effects of World War I. In our next video, we will delve more deeply into each of these aspects, shedding light on how World War I shaped the world we live in today. So, make sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next historical journey. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep engaging with history.